Bleacher Report wrote this up. See if y'all buy into it. Spencer Dinwiddie, of course, has been a revelation, and especially late in games. Wizardry, get it? From the team he came from, it's produced a 9-1 clutch mark. Clutch play, basically. I'm not going to get all nerdy like Choppy usually likes to do, but they say clutch play is notoriously unreliable. The correlation between regular season clutch winning percentage and postseason clutch winning percentage is negative among teams. So basically, the Mavs have won 3 more games than they should have based upon this ranking and after Dinwiddie's arrival. So they're trying to say just because Spencer Dinwiddie has come up clutch, or you got Reggie Bullock going ahead and hitting these threes, and Jalen Brunson maybe is your true number 2 as a Robin, don't look for that. History shows that does not carry over into the postseason.
Yeah, it's one of those reasons why, like in a lot of sports, period, they talk about how score differential is a better predictor of future success, because it shows that, you lose close games to certain teams and then you beat down, bad teams. And so that generally point differential is a good metric to say, all right, this is a team that shows that they should have some future success. And the Mavericks, to be honest, you look at the top 7 teams, they have the second worst point differential in the Western Conference. They're plus 2.6. And that's compared to teams like Phoenix, who average an 8.5 point victory per game, and Memphis, who's at 6, and the Celtics in the East, who are 6.8. So it is a tough predictor because it shows that like you're that luck's not always going to be there. You're not always going to be able to hit the clutch shot, and if you do it 9 out of 10 times, like the Mavericks have done since they got Dinwiddie, and they win these close games, it says that like, well, eventually that's going to balance out. That's not a reliable predictor, and that you're talking more about just lucky breaks going your way. And so the law of averages would say that's going to catch up to you at some point, and that would likely be the playoffs.
Are you a Luka lover?
Yeah, I love Luka. He's great. You can build it. I think that Luka's going to be one of these guys that when we've talked about this question of who would you say is most likely to win a title out of the Dallas teams, like the next team to win a title, I've always said your bet should probably be on the Mavericks, because if you've got that one stud, like that's all it takes in a lot of respects, is just that will always keep you competitive. That'll always keep you in the conversation. If you then hit on the right, supporting cast around him, or you get the right role players around, or you happen to get, some disgruntled star who decides they really want to come to Dallas and you can make a move happen, then, it just feels like they're going to be closer right now than the Rangers are, who are a couple years away from a rebuild. The Cowboys, who I think kind of had a shock to their system a little bit, that said we are not nearly as close as we thought we were as a 12-5 football team. Whereas I think the Mavericks could make a deeper run this year. I could see them maybe sneaking in, depending on where they finish, sneaking into the Western Conference Finals as at best scenario. But I think that you continue to build on this, then next year you're up there as a legitimate title contender.
Were y'all having the conversation of who's the next to win the title, or who's the most interesting in the Metroplex?
Well, we had that conversation too, but we were just discussing the aspect of like who is most likely of the DFW sports teams to go ahead and win a title. But in terms of the like interest level, like I think the Mavericks you could argue, are the most interesting team in Dallas right now out of the big 3. And the Cowboys are always going to be number 1. That does not mean they're going to supplant the Cowboys in terms of, ratings or anything else, especially because they play on Bally. But I think that when you look at the aspect of how interesting is your team just in a vacuum, like what is it that they do? What storylines are associated with this team? What are they doing that's exciting? How are they building? Things like that. Then I think you can say the Rangers are really exciting right now. You got Jack Leiter. They're going to have a higher pick coming up. They've got the middle infield now, which is really exciting. And so those are some exciting things to look forward to. The Mavericks, same thing. You got Luka. You're seeing that, Dinwiddie coming in here and playing like he is, and the Mavericks playing as good defense as they are, and there's a lot of hope. Whereas with the Cowboys, you're taking steps back, you're removing pieces, and it's
the Rangers are the intrigue. The Mavericks are actually doing it, and the Cowboys are boring us to death.
Yeah. No, I think
that would be my sentence for each. And then, of course, you have the Stars, who have been getting some decent wins as of late as well.
Yeah, and I think I just say the top 3 because I think that's mainstreamed. Every sports fan around DFW has a general consciousness of all the teams. Hockey, that's not a disrespect. I know it's not a disrespect to them. I think anybody who follows all 4 sports as a fan of Dallas would also agree that the Stars are ahead of the Cowboys in terms of their interest level right now, in terms of what type of a team they're putting together. The Cowboys are just painfully boring right now, I think. KG and I were up here the night that Dinwiddie hit that game winner against the Celtics, and we just quickly mentioned it, and then we moved on to a Cowboys topic. First day of free agency, I think it was, and we were getting slammed on the text of stop talking about the Cowboys. That's not interesting. The Mavericks just won this game. Why are you talking about the Cowboys? They're bored. And it's like, I think that would be the Joneses' worst nightmare.
Yes.
Just being uninteresting.
Absolutely.
They love the love them, hate them, like strong, polar opposite passion. If you're right in the middle and people nothing you, that's a dangerous spot to be in that I don't think they want. And I think they're more at that spot now than they have been in, potentially since they started winning Super Bowls. Maybe the first year the Jones era was there, but I mean, since they started winning Super Bowls in the 90s, that's the most, I think this is the greatest spot of purgatory they've been in.
They just went 12-5.
But I'm talking about in terms of like the moves they made and people just feeling like
this is one off season that we're mad about.
The Mavericks, you got here in 2010?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but as a national observer in the mid 2000s, didn't you feel like the Mavericks were just whatever? I know they're good for 60 wins. Like it didn't matter that they were good. Yeah. They had become stale. They were like
stale. Sacramento.
They had become stale.
Phoenix, behind the Lakers and the Spurs.
They were a stale team where it was like, okay, it doesn't matter. You're boring now. I don't care that you can score. I don't care that you're this high flying team that scores. Nobody can count on you in the playoffs. So we can go through the whole NBA season and I'll just go, yeah, that's great. I know the Mavericks have 60 wins. I'm not going to believe them till they get here. That's kind of where the Cowboys are at. It's great. Yeah, you had 12-win season. And then you got, dog walked by the 49ers in the playoffs. You got punched in the mouth by Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think it just comes to a point where it's like, all right, we no longer care what you produce in the regular season.
Yeah.
We've got to see some changes. And the changes you're making are changes that fans aren't excited about. You're moving on from Amari Cooper. You're moving on from Lyle Collins when people don't feel like he's, that Terrence Steele is the better option at right tackle right now. At least fans don't. I know the team does. But I think that when you look at it in a vacuum and just say, like, how exciting are the organizations in terms of how they're building their teams, I think you'd have to say the Cowboys are the most boring of the top DFW teams right now.
But unless they see it show up and ding them in the ratings and the attendance, it won't matter.
Jerry saw 2 reporters in Mobile. That pissed him off. Jerry didn't like that there were 2 reporters in Mobile, and one of them was a team reporter, and then the other was USA Today. The beat didn't care to go out to Mobile to talk to Jerry.
Or couldn't afford it.
I talked to some people who didn't care and could have gone and didn't.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because what were you going to hear? It's the same message.
Talking about them is... I gave an interview recently.
You did. It was great. Barrett Sports Media.
Thank you, Bobby.
It was wonderful.
But
I'm sitting next to a superstar today.
Yeah, right. One of the things that it's challenging. It's tough to figure out. You're always trying to figure out a puzzle of what to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when I first came here, you're like, oh, Texas is football, and it's all Cowboys, and then let's do college, and then let's do high school football. And then you adjust, right? The Rangers are on their run. The Mavs win the championship. And then, hockey's going to be in 4th place in most cities. And then you're like, let's hammer the Cowboys. And then you become a transplant city. Mm-hmm. And you go to the stadium and you see San Francisco invade.
Yep.
And Chicago. And you're like, okay, how many other NFL fans are in the Metroplex that we turn off with the dedication to doing the best Cowboys coverage possible? And then you want to focus on the Mavericks and the Rangers. Well, then you're talking about games that 50% of the Metroplex can't watch because of the Bally
that's tough.
TV debacle.
That's
so it's
tough.
like, all right, let's go away from the Cowboys. Let's go to all these other NFL stories, which I'm obsessed with. I could talk about the other quarterbacks and the other moves all day long. And then you have the draft. But then it's like, okay, if I can't go Rangers because they stink and they can't be watched, and I can't go Mavericks because they're fun but they also can't be watched, it kind of like takes you back to the Cowboys, and then you feel like I'm in a pinball machine.
It's tough to talk about. It's tough to talk about two
because
teams.
This is also a winner's town.
100%.
This is LA light, and even so, I was terrified the Mavericks were going to be left for dead after the Porzingis trade. Because look, let's be honest about it, and I admit that I was wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. We all thought the Mavs this season were going away.
Yeah.
That Dinwiddie and Bertans were a definite step backwards.
Yeah.
And you can criticize Porzingis, and I applaud them for cutting bait and recognizing that it was never going to be realized. But I was like, we're not going to be able to talk about the Mavericks. The Mavericks have been such a pleasant surprise since the trade that they've allowed us to talk about them a little bit more. But otherwise, you sit there and you fall to 6th, 7th in the West. Like, you could make an argument some are already like kind of not, I don't know how to say tired of Luka, but like, okay, we know what he is.
Yeah, it's like the discussion about the Cowboys.
Yes.
We've seen this already. Show us something different. And I think that's going to be a big pressure point on Luka this year. And if Luka wins a playoff series, that'll just continue to build the excitement. It's just you want to see the progress. And again,
but Bobby, when the Cowboys lose one game in the East and they're on top of the division, we'll all get suckered right back into it again. I call it Bassick syndrome.
Well, it's the Godfather 3 syndrome. Just when I was out, I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Yes, and we'll all get football through the veins, and we'll all start getting hype. And I'm not making fun of Mikey. He's just, what I love about Mike is he is a real, true fan.
He's passionate about it.
He's passionate about it. He's done with them now, and he's fed up with them now, and making jokes now. But I told you last year he would change his mind about them being a contender. He did, and we will all get football fever when they're starting off 3-0, or they're dominating the division and they're 11-6 and in the playoffs again. We just will.